The Lord be with you. On this Holy Thursday, we listen to the Holy Gospel according to John, chapter 13, 1 through 15. Before the festival of the Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart from this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The devil had already put into the heart of Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, to betray him. And during supper, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, Jesus got up from the table. He took off his outer robe and tied a towel round himself. Then Jesus poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was tied around him. Jesus came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus answered, "You do not know now what I am doing, but later you will understand." Peter said to Jesus, "You will never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no share with me." Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head." Jesus said to Peter, "One who has bathed does not need to wash except for the feet, but is entirely clean. And you are clean, though not all of you." For he knew who was to betray him. And for this reason he said, "Not all of you are clean." After he had washed their feet, he put on his robe and returned to the table. Jesus said to them, "Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I am. So if I, your teacher and Lord, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have set you an example, that you also should do as I have done to you." The Gospel of the Lord. My friends, on this Holy Thursday, we are reminded that Jesus, in his earthly ministry, was always making a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. A pilgrim is a person who journeys to a sacred place as an act of religious devotion, many times for a spiritual purpose. For Christians, two of the most traveled pilgrimages is to Rome and Jerusalem. Rome, the city of Peter, the rock whom Jesus would build his church. Jerusalem, the holy city. In the past number of years, I've read a number of books about another pilgrimage called the Camino de Santiago, or the Way to St. James. Is the third most visited site for Christians who have been visiting there for over 1,000 years. It is estimated that over 1 million Christians have made a pilgrimage to that holy site. The complete French Camino Trail is about 580 miles through mostly northern Spain to the Cathedral of St. James the Apostle. In 2017, more than 300,000 people made the pilgrimage, and almost 90% walked the trail. It is believed that the body of St. James was brought to the site of the cathedral. Many pilgrims walked to the Camino at different stages, at different distances to the holy site. In my readings about the Camino, all the pilgrims have testified how their lives have been changed on that sacred trail. There is a movie that came out in 2011 called The Way, starring Martin Sheen. It was about a father who walked the Camino to honor his son. I really enjoyed the movie, and I really enjoyed reading people's lives and how they were transformed. And even though each person was affected differently, they all seemed to have one thing in common, and that was their feet. At some point in the books, pilgrims walked about that this Camino had made their feet sore, blistered, swelling, throbbing, and aching. Many wrote extensively about different safeguards and precautions to protect their feet. All the pilgrims arriving at their destination were in need of a warm foot bath and a massage to relieve their beaten down feet. As I was reading the books, I can only imagine how the people in Jesus' day managed to take care of their feet. I remember many years ago visiting my cousin who was a missionary in Papua New Guinea, where there everyone walked without any footwear, and how their feet looked sore, swollen, beaten up. Unlike Papua New Guinea in Jesus' day, they were people whose role it was to take care of other people's feet. There were rest houses at different locations along the road. Travelers, worn out by the long journey, they would stop in these rest houses for food and for a foot bath and massage. Their energy restored, that they could continue their journey. The people who bathed and massaged other people's feet were called servants. As Christians, my friends, we do not have to travel to Spain, or Rome, or Jerusalem. For each of us are on a pilgrimage. We are on a journey through life for a heavenly destination. The life of a pilgrimage, the life of a pilgrim, our lives, many times are a long, dusty, hard journey. Many of us today are weary. We find life difficult. Along the way, many of us get tired and worn out. Maybe some of us even tempted to turn back. But that's where Eucharist comes in. The Eucharist is a place where we stop on our journey to rest, to be restored. Jesus has promised us with the Eucharist as a place that we can stop. We can bathe our aching spirits and refresh our souls for the journey that's still ahead. When we give communion to a dying person, we call it viaticum, which means provisions for the journey. In other words, the person received Jesus in communion, and we send them off to their journey to heaven. The Eucharist is always our viaticum, food for the journey. In the Eucharist, we derive strength to continue our upwardness toward God. On Holy Thursday, we are reminded that Jesus, our teacher and Lord, he showed himself as a servant. For he said, I have come to earth not to be served, but to serve. And it was on that Holy Thursday that he washed the feet of his friends. Priests wash feet on Holy Thursday, which reminds us that every time we come to Mass is a time where Christ washes our souls, revives our spirit, and gives us himself as food, spiritual food for our pilgrim's journey here on earth. I know that many this year will not be able to receive Eucharist at Mass. But no, we can turn to him right now. We can turn to this same Jesus. Wherever we are, wherever we may be listening to this, hear Jesus call you by name right now. Hear him speak your name. He loves you, cares for you. And he said, come to me. You who are weary, find life burdensome, and I will give you rest. Put in your imagination this day, just like he reached down and washed the feet of those friends. And even though Peter said, you'll never wash my feet, in the end, Jesus washed Peter's feet. My friends, use your imagination right now. Take off your shoes and your socks. Just as you're sitting down, put one foot out there. And imagine Jesus reaching down, holding your foot gently, pouring water on your foot, and washing you clean. You see, my friends, when Jesus sets us free, we are free indeed. During this disruptive, very difficult time when our lives are disrupted, know that Jesus' love for you is not disrupted. He is the same yesterday, and he's the same today and forever. And he calls you by name. Come and follow me. Feel Jesus' gentle presence being with you on this Holy Thursday. Amen.